Hello everyone, welcome to another review of A Tale of a Thousand Stars. This is episode 2, now my first video for episode 1. Someone told me that was actually a recap, not a review, and I can't say I disagree with them. So I guess we're going to call this a recap because I do just recap what happens in the episode, but I'll try to give more commentary, more of a review for it. But I understand if you think this is not really a review. Maybe it's not, but I'm not going to argue that. You probably are right, you know. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Now, before we do get into it, spoiler warning. If you guys haven't seen it yet, don't watch this video because I'm going to spoil it for you. Okay, so the episode opens up with Tien going to this foundation place. I believe is where Homegirl worked at. And he goes there to apply to be a teacher. And when he gets there, there's this old man in the garden. And the old man says, well, we're closed. Come back on Monday. And he had a bad attitude when he said it. And I was like, okay, Gramps, calm down. I know it's hot. I know, you're doing the garden. Maybe you need some help and no one's helping you and you're mad about it. But homeboys have a problem with that. So calm down. But then Tien goes to leave and he asks him, hey, do you mind helping me out? And which he does. And after that, he becomes a little bit nicer and says, okay, come on in. We can apply for your teacher thingy right now. Which I was like, all right, that's nice of him. At least he wasn't a jerk after he helped him. Can you imagine though? Like he helps him with the garden, but then he's still mad at him or like being a jerk. And he's like, okay, you can leave now. Can you imagine? I would be so upset. All right, so then they go in and they sit down to apply and everything. And Tien lets him know where he wants to work. And the old man is like, are you sure about that? Because there's no water, no electricity. It's going to be hard out there. It's rough. And you are privileged. And I don't know if you can handle this. And he was like, yeah, I want to do it. He's like, but listen. Have you had a life where you have a servant or the finer things in life? No. And if you just want this for a photo opportunity for your Instagram or for your resume, then pick somewhere else that's more comfortable because this place ain't playing no games with you. So the next day we see Tien asking Chief Poo if he can direct him to the bathroom so he can like shower and brush his teeth. And he doesn't really answer him, but he gets him to follow him, which I kind of knew, like, just by that, it was like a prank or something, which it was, because Chief led him all the way to the school to meet the kids, and Tien thought he was going to take him to the bathroom to take a shower, but he didn't, so he had toothpaste on his face, and he was looking stupid, and the kids were laughing at him, and I was like, okay, why are you trying to play him like that? It was unnecessary. So we meet the kids, and we get a little montage of Tien reading the diary before he came to the compound, to the village, of him reading all the descriptions that Torfan left in her diary about each of the kids. And we get to know them and their personalities and whatnot, which is nice. And then afterwards, Chief comes and finally takes Tien to go take a bath, but it's at a waterfall. So while they're there, Tien's like, okay, you can stay here and guard me, because he was like, you can go, but she was like, I have to protect you because the borders, all this stuff right here, you need protection, but I can go if you want. He's like, no, you can stay, just don't look. And he was like, ain't much trying to look at you. So as Chief's turning around, drinking his drink or whatnot, he notices that he doesn't hear Tien anymore, and he's calling his name. He thinks he's drowned, so he goes in to find him in the water. He gets very tense, the music's dramatic. And then we find out that he was just diving and he scared Chief. And he was like, oh, I was just diving. Why are you yelling? What's going on? What's the problem? So after they, dried off and whatnot, they go meet the head chief of the village, which is kind of awkward in this moment because the chief doesn't know that Torfan had passed away. He meets Tien. He's like, oh, I'm the new teacher. He's like, okay, great, but where's Torfan? I can see her in a minute. And she was like, oh, she busy right now. And I'm like, y'all ain't tell him that she is no longer around? Oh my goodness. That's kind of like, I don't know. What's that going to do? Like, why did he tell the chief? Is he close to her? Would he not be able to take the information? I don't know. And then we cut to them eating food, which there's lots of food that Tien is not used to. And we cut to like a flashback of with his doctor before he came to the village, that he needs to take these special medications all the time because of his heart, and he can't eat certain foods, which it seemed like that might be a worry given him being in a place where there's not like, I'm not sure if the food is bad for him, but he doesn't know what this food could do to him in his heart condition or his heart, his heart in the medicine, all that good stuff. So he's kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. Next, we have them walking back, Chief and Tien back to the respective places, and this is the moment where they kind of chit chat and talk to each other and kind of get to know each other better without kind of like bickering in a way, because they've always been kind of antagonistic towards each other this whole time, which I don't know why. I understand he's like a rich boy coming to town and trying to, you know, they don't know what his intentions are by being there, but I think Chief's a little too mean to him or keep teasing a little bit too much for my taste. But because of the mosquito bites that Tien got, the Chief decides to help him with his like little tent to keep the bugs out in his room. And that results in them having a moment where they're like face to face and the music's all somber and like, which I'm like, oh my gosh, of course you guys would do this. Create these little moments for them to like feel something, because low key they kind of do, I think. You notice that during the waterfall scene, they were kind of like checking each other out low key. I'm like, what is happening? What's going on? The next scene, the whole class was with Tien on a field trip, and one of the rangers has to go do something. So Tien's by himself with the kids, and one of them ends up almost drowning, which is very tense. It got real dramatic real quick in that one scene. Luckily, Chief Poo and the doctor came in, escorted the child to the hospital, so he's fine, but that was very intense, and Tien was shook. He was shook. Now, while at the hospital, the doctor tries to convince, well, he does actually convince Chief Poo to go talk to Tien, and he was like, listen, I know you're upset right now, but he is feeling some type of way. You saw a look on his face, and he was like, oh, that's what he gets. He shouldn't be. But he's like, doctor's like, well, he didn't mean for this to happen. Accidents do happen. You need to go, you know, make sure he's okay, because he's feeling down about this, and stop acting like that. So, which he does, which I'm glad the doctor did, because I know in those situations you can feel kind of frustrated with the person who who wasn't wasn't responsible enough to prevent this from happening, but accidents do happen. So I'm glad he talked to him and tell him to go, you know, talk to him. Which he does go talk to him. He does like chastise him. He does like reprimand him for his actions, but he also encourages him to stay, because Tien was about to bounce. He was like, I'm leaving because But then the Chief convinced him to stay. Also, he has all these flashbacks from teaching the kids before he came, which also convinced him to stay, which he does, which I'm like, okay, good. You don't have to leave. It was an accident. They happen. Just don't let it happen again. And that's what pretty much happened in the whole episode. This episode was a little bit slower than the first one. I'm not a big fan of like mundane tasks. Like most of the scenes in the show with him teaching the kids, those scenes are not my favorite, because I'm like, they don't add anything to the story. Like, I don't want to see him actual in real time teaching a lesson. But it is kind of nice to see the flashbacks of the kids interacting with the original teacher, Torfan, and her description of them. That's nice. But then Tien teaching them, I'm just like, okay, we can skip this. Not to be a jerk, but I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on this episode. Leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.